Hi, everyone, and welcome to my talk, which is called Community and Standards Are the Backbone to Integrated Species Observations. My name is Abby Benson. I work for the U.S. Geological Survey. I'm the node manager for GBIF US and also for OBIS USA. And I'm super excited to be here with you all today. All the pictures you'll see of bees are pictures I've taken on iNaturalist because that's something I've really gotten into over the last few years. So I'm really excited to be talking to you all today about it. All right, I think most of you know about GBIF, the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, but thought I would just put up the obligatory slide showing all of the observations that are available in GBIF. So all the places where it's red and orange and yellow, or where there's observations, blue and green, are places where we don't have observations at the moment. But you can see we're really getting a lot of data globally. And the way that GBIF does this is that, there are different places collecting data across a bunch of different data types like specimens, observations, literature, remote sensing, and we're really now getting into DNA. And what makes this possible are standards and open licenses. So the standard I primarily help people with is called Darwin Core. And because everyone who's sharing data to GBIF are using standards and open licenses, that means that it can be integrated into this global index and into the image that I showed previously, and then shared out, and people use this data for research. It's used in policy across all this wide spectrum of people needing this type of information about biodiversity. One thing I do want to highlight quickly for you is that if you've not heard about it, GBIF does have a hosted portals program where you can basically have a portal that's using the GBIF index as the backend, and then you have this simple hosted portal that shows the observations for that you select. So just that might be an option for those who might be interested. So to me, the secret sauce or the special part of what makes GBIF possible is transforming the data to Darwin Core, so the standards that are used. Basically, if you have 3 different data sets and you align them to Darwin Core, then you can integrate across all of those data sets and then perform an observation level extraction. So let's say you're only interested in the Nevada bumblebee records from these 3 data sets. Well, because they're standardized and integrated together, you don't have to go and grab each one of those data sets separately. Instead, you can just pull out those observations that you're interested in. One other thing I want to highlight about GBIF is that they're making their data available on the cloud. So this makes it easier to do really, big data sorts of queries and questions of the data. So just wanted to let you know that that's out there and an option. And if you share your data to GBIF, it means that it will be available in these places. The other thing to highlight is the citation tracking. So this is something that GBIF does that I actually don't know of anyone else doing, at least at the moment. So you can see here for this joint native bee laboratory data set shared by the U.S. Geological Survey, that there are 174 citations for that data set. So the unique thing about what GBIF is doing is creating a DOI when people download the data. So you just have one DOI. And if people cite that in their paper, then it will link back to all the data sets that were used. So even if you have 500 data sets, it's just one DOI, and it's linking back to that. So when the paper is published, you get credit basically for your data being used in that paper. And so one thing to take away from this presentation is please cite the DOI. In preparation for this, I was looking at recent publications about bees, and I noticed a big one that came out just recently, and they did not cite the DOI. So, when you're reviewing papers, if you notice that people are using GBIF data, please make sure they're citing a DOI for those data. It's really important for the citation tracking. Well, one thing that may be of interest to you all here is the inclusion of more and more sampling event type of data. I've been really involved with this through OBIS, the Ocean Biodiversity Information System, and so sharing marine observations, monitoring observations. What's a little bit different about monitoring data is that you usually have a sampling protocol, and there's repeated surveys, and there's information about the sample size and things like that. So I've put a couple links here that GBIF has about this that you can go and check out for sharing this type of data. But more and more of this type of data is being shared, and hopefully it means we're going to be able to ask even more intricate questions of these data than we could before with presence only. So one example that I have is a USGS Great Lakes Trawl Survey data set. So when we're talking about occurrence only, we share the observations of the yellow perch, that it's in the Great Lakes, and that there were 33 adults. And that's basically all you can share using occurrence only. But when you use what's called event core with the extended measurement or fact extension, you can say that there were yellow perch, they were in the Great Lakes, there were 33 adults, but then you can also indicate the temperature of the water, where the fish was caught. You can indicate the length of the individuals and the weight. So, these are extra pieces of information that were a little harder to include before, that now with the extended measurement or fact extension, we can be sure to include those measurements when we're sharing this type of data. So to give you an idea of what this looks like here, this is pulled from the OBIS website, from the OBIS manual. What you have is one file with all of your event information. So here's this would be quadrats of, I think it's for seagrass in this instance, but you could think of it for any kind of quadrats or any kind of sampling. That you have event ID, you have the event date, you have the location information. So that kind of is all in the event file. In the occurrence file, you have the information about the species that were seen during those events. And then in the extended measurement or fact extension, you have different types of measurements that were taken. So surface area, percent cover, length, things like that can go. And you can include things that are measurements about the event, so temperature, wind speed, things like that. Or you can include measurements of the occurrence, like percent cover. Another thing I was asked to talk about was building a network and how you build a really strong network, strong functional network. And one thing I would say that's been working really well for us in the sort of OBIS community side of things, at least in the US and Canada, is that we host a monthly office hours type of meeting where people can come and ask questions about how to align their data to Darwin Core, and just, a place to kind of talk about the data management and things like that. Then we also are hosting an annual workshop where we help people with getting their data standardized. So we have another one coming up in April, and we hosted one last March. That's where this picture is from. And that really gets people working on the data and over hurdles that they've identified, like lack of time or lack of knowledge in how to do this kind of work. So that's one of the ways we've been building a network. So my take-home messages for you today are that data in GBIF are standardized, get used, and get cited. Please cite the DOI anytime you use data from GBIF. monitoring data is easy to share with GBIF using some combination of event core, occurrence, and extended measurement or fact. You don't have to use all three of them. Actually, you can just use occurrence only and include event information, and it'll still be displayed. So just so you know that. And then building a functional network takes leadership and some compromises. So, you can't, tends to be that people want to do things kind of their own way, but when we work together and, for instance, use standards together, we really can accomplish a lot more than we could on our own. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time today, and please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about anything I talked about today.